have we found ourselves? Okay, there you go. Now you're here. Hi, Samira. I'm sure you're very, very busy, and I'm so glad that you are here.
No, I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Always very inspired with all the work that you do and just empowering women constantly, let me tell you that. So yeah, I want to just have everyone know who you are and what you do a little bit before I invite our other panelist member here.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I am Samira Shihab. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Tinkerlust.com. So if you haven't heard about Tinkerlust, it is the leading pre-loved luxury e-commerce. We launched around 6 years ago. And yeah, we're going strong, even though this year has all been about survival for sure. Yeah, and aside from Tinkerlust, I guess you would say my passion is definitely empowering female entrepreneurs, and I do that in this with Stellar Women. So that's a vehicle that I launched around 2 years ago to support female entrepreneurs here in Indonesia.
Thank you, Samira. And now I'm going to call on our gentleman. We've got Peter Jakubowski. I hope I've said that name right. I always fear calling a name wrongly. But Peter is a co-founder of Nafas. And I just want to say hi to you. And I know you're super busy as well. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. Really excited to be here, share a little bit about our experiences in building Nafas. I went to GIS, so GIS and BIS had a very competitive, especially in the sports. I was on the football team, and we always look forward to playing against the British school because it was the derby of Jakarta, if you will. So really happy to be here and share some of our experiences as well.
Thank you. Samira, were you also in an international school here, or?
No, I actually grew up in the States. I just moved here.
Okay.
I moved back 6 years ago.
Okay.
So I grew up in the States. I never went to school in Indonesia.
Oh, yes, that's true. Well, I went to international school too, but at the time in Indonesia, I was not allowed to go to international school because I was Indonesian, right? So I actually grew up in Singapore, and I went to another school there called UWC. So we're all kind of like third culture kids and kind of coming back home. I'm sure many can relate, but not, working in the tech sector has nothing to do with going to international school. It's just kind of sharing our experience here. So I just want to come in here and perhaps ask if you guys want to share a little bit about what actually you guys do. So maybe I'm going to have a chance for Samira to come in if you would like to visually share a little bit about Tinkerlust, a little bit more, and then I'm going to have Peter just come in and really share a little bit more about Nafas before we actually deep dive into your experiences as well.
Okay, I'm going to share hopefully I can. I can't see if it's working.
Yeah, so while we're waiting for Samira to set up, are you okay? Are you done?
No. I don't know why it's not working for me.
Okay. How about you, Peter? Do you want to try?
Yeah, you can share first. I will try to figure this out while you share.
I'm wondering if I'm going to have the same tech problems.
Oh, no. This is a tech talk, and we have tech problems. Reality. This is the reality. Troubleshooting everything.
Okay. Well, let's see. Is it working? Can you see my
I can see your screen. Yes, we can see your screen. Perfect.
Amazing. So I before kind of going into this, I wanted to share a little bit about what Nafas is and what we're doing and how we started. This presentation is going to be available to everybody. It's openly available online. So I'll go through parts of it just to kind of show you what is here, and then I will drop the link into the chat so you can go and take a look, read it at your own leisure. But my name is Piat. I was born and raised in Jakarta, actually. So I've lived in Indonesia for a total of 25 years. And my career took me into technology accidentally, and we can kind of go into this a little bit later as well. But I started out in marketing and advertising, and then accidentally ended up a founder of a business. But to give you a bit of a background on Nafas, a couple of years ago, I started getting really concerned about air quality, and started measuring air quality in and around where I was living. And my personal anecdote was that in my house in South Jakarta in the Kemang area, the garden that we had was extremely green and lush, and it kind of felt like an escape from the city and the pollution in the city. But I took an air quality monitor and I turned it on in the garden, and the readings, I was shocked because the air quality readings were about 30% worse than the air quality readings on Jalan Sudirman, which was kind of the first aha moment that that I had. So, we sat down with my co-founder and business partner, and we identified that there were a couple of key problems that we're facing in Indonesia. The first one was an overall lack of access to data. And our first mission was to make air quality data available as dense as possible in the city. So today, if you download the Nafas app, we have over 100 locations that are transmitting in near real time. And this air quality data is there to help us, to help me, to help you make the decisions that that we should be making on a daily basis. Because on some days, air quality can be really not healthy. In some cases, even hazardous. And on some days, air quality is fine, right? It's not a question of it's extremely bad every single day. But the variance between good days and bad days is so extremely large, and in general pretty unpredictable, that it's an important part of this. The second thing that we're doing is we're trying to focus on education, and education about the problem and how we can approach addressing how we can approach our own response to the problem, and then what can happen in the future. So, why is air pollution such a challenging thing? Because what you breathe, and generally your breathing, is something that you just don't think about, right? When you're drinking or when you're eating, when you've got that last donut, you're thinking about, should I put that last donut in my mouth or not, right? With air, you just naturally and automatically breathe. So there, it comes across as something that's a little bit more, automatic, if you will. So we're focusing on education, and the education that we're trying to highlight is the fact that air pollution at the concentrations that is happening in Jakarta and the surrounding areas poses a health risk to everyone who's living in the city. And the health risk is connected to lung disease, connected to heart disease, connected to a variety of other different types of things. And unfortunately, the group of people that's at the largest risk are children under the age of 5. And this has been highlighted by both UNICEF and the World Health Organization. So children under 5 are at risk because they're developing, their bodies are developing, their brains are developing, their lungs are developing, and in the long term, high levels and high concentrations of pollution is really poison for this development. If you want to oversimplify things a little bit. So we want to get that education out, and we want to work with schools, work with universities, to get more data around this, to increase awareness around this a little bit more, and in the future, in the next couple of years, really provide a strong case to the government to be more urgent on air quality issues. This happened in the UK. Because in 1952, there was the Great London Smog of 1952, and that kind of accelerated the creation of the Clean Air Act in the UK in 1956. Same thing happened in the US in the 70s. So it's not something that's new. It's something that is completely addressable, and it's something that we understand that everybody's learning about at their own pace. So I'll just kind of walk through very, very quickly of what you can expect in this presentation. So, mind you, I will share the link right after I'm done right now, so you can read through it whenever you'd like. but there's a few things that I just want to highlight. This content talks about what is Jakarta's microclimate and why things are so different in Jakarta. What are the sources of pollution? Where do they come from? How our geography affects it? What are some of the data points that we have of times when pollution is highest and lowest? Some of the myths about pollution, the fact that lots of trees, doesn't mean that you're completely safe from air pollution. We also go into, an understanding of just how bad it is. You learn a little bit about the air quality index, what 2020 looked like. There was a lot of people who were saying, well, during the lockdown last year, air quality was good. Sure, maybe there was 1 or 2 days during the lockdown last year where we had blue skies, but if you take a look at the data, and this is where we come in. When you take a look at the data, it really wasn't that good of a story. This is something quite interesting. It's a comparison of what is the equivalency of breathing Jakarta's air and smoking cigarettes. So this is data from August 2020 last year, where technically we were supposed to be working from home and there was sort of kind of a lockdown thing. Well, the air quality was still bad enough that, living in Bekasi and simply just breathing the air in Bekasi on average was about smoking 100 cigarettes. Now, I will highlight one thing. That means every single person smoked the equivalent of 100 cigarettes, including children who are 1 year old, 1 week old, or not 1 week, because this is a month, 1 month old, et cetera, right? So this is why this is so important and so interesting. There's a whole bunch of things about health, and it goes into a detail. I won't go into this detail simply because it's really there's a lot of stuff here. We've linked some of our favorite stories. We've linked some of our favorite articles as well that have been videos, interviews that have been done. And, it kind of goes into what we can do and where Nafas was created. And this is that idea of building an extremely hyper local network. So wherever you are in Jakarta, you can make the decisions that you want to make for yourself, for your kids, for your family, in terms of how you manage life in a polluted city. So I'll just leave it at that. Sorry, I will mention one thing, because this is something that is related to sports and something that we're really proud of, actually. So we have created a special exercise report. So if you are somebody who likes to work out, the data immediately tells you if the current air quality level recommends that you exercise less. So it'll be either 90 minutes, 30 minutes, or not exercise at all. Now, these are heightened numbers. So me personally, I don't exercise when it's red at all. But this is a feature that we made based on scientific research that was published by the University of Cambridge. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing. Thank you for giving me the chance to go through a little bit. Air pollution is something that is a little bit complicated, and we're trying our best to help everybody learn.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, especially when you have that comparison with cigarettes, that was pretty shocking. I mean, and, for people who smoke like adults, okay, great. I think they probably smoke that anyway. But like seeing when you mentioned that even children and babies and a month old being ingesting that amount of cigarette because of the air quality is relevant and so easy to understand, but also it's very it's terrifying, right? So no, that's really great. Thank you so much, for sharing that. I think just everybody can understand a little bit more what you're really working on as well. And now I just want to get Samira to come on here and talk a little bit about her company as well. Okay, jadi untuk yang mau lihat presentasinya, everyone here who's watching, if you want to find Piot's presentation, he's shared the link on the chat as well. So if you have any questions later on about this, please do write in the chat box. Kalau kalian ada pertanyaan apapun itu, jangan lupa untuk tulis di chat box. And also if you're on YouTube Live, please do write it down as well. So I do ask that our colleagues at British School Jakarta to kind of help us monitor the questions on YouTube Live as well for us. All right, so Mira, would you like to come on and share a little bit about what you do? Kasih lihat teman-teman yang di sini hari ini what is...
Sorry, I had my tech support, aka my husband, helping me, but
hello!
he couldn't figure it out either. It's because I just actually switched my computer and kayaknya the protocols, the security is still not, but it's okay.
Okay.
I can just kind of introduce myself. You guys can all go on tinkerless.com and you can kind of learn a little bit about what Tinkerless is and what Tinkerless does. I will walk through kind of like my background and how I ended up here in Indonesia and at Tinkerless. So I grew up in the States, as I mentioned. So I moved there when I was 4, when my parents were going to grad school, and I just ended up staying there all throughout school, you know, undergrad, and then I worked and then did my MBA. And I came to Indonesia not thinking that I was actually going to move back. I had finished my MBA at Santa Clara at Silicon Valley, and you know that's all where Google, Facebook is. And so my dream was actually to work at one of the big companies and do like finance. Like my MBA was in finance. But then I had moved. I mean, I had visited Jakarta, and I had seen that there was a huge opportunity for digital and tech. So that was around 2013, 2014, and it was still a blue ocean. I think the first e-commerce or marketplace was OLX. No, it was Toko Bagus. I think it was at that time. And so I was like, okay, I need to come back to Indonesia because I could just make more of an impact here. And so I started my first company actually with my husband, and he's not from Indonesia, but he's in tech as well. He's an engineer. And so I was like, we should do something back here. And so we did, it was called Local Social, which was, it's like an open table, or now it's like Chope. So we did that for about 1.5 years, and it didn't really meet the targets that we were intending. So we actually decided to stop it. It was, I think that was like my first story in failure. You know, startups, most of them fail. That one did. So that's another story. But after that, I went into consulting because I think that once entrepreneurs fail, they never want to go back into startups or entrepreneurship. So I did consulting and kind of like ran away from that. And then I decided I was ready to kind of jump back into startups. And I did a lot of research. This time around, I did a lot of research and see what kind of business model would work here in Indonesia. And so I saw the Tinkerless model, very successful, a lot of successful case studies in Europe, in the United States, in Australia, and Japan. And I came and I brought it here to Indonesia. But one of I think the biggest things that I learned from my first startup was that you need to localize and you need to understand the market and how the market's going to respond. So Tinkerless, I think if you see the global comparables, it's a little bit different. They focus more on luxury, while we focus everything from fast fashion to all of the high end. So we sell everything from Zara, Forever 21, up until Hermes and Chanel. And I think we were very lucky to be one of the first movers. So through investment in education. So I think, Piotr, I totally understand what you mean by educating the market. And so, for example, now sustainability is a huge word in fashion. But when we started in 2016, nobody knew what sustainable fashion was. So we definitely invested in educating the market about the circular economy and how Tinkerless, is a part of that movement. And so that's kind of where we are now. We are a team of almost pushing 100. I can't believe it myself because
wow.
Yeah, I know.
It's grown since I last visited that office of yours.
Yeah. Yeah, we've moved. Now we have a huge warehouse, and it's going well. I think that the key to tech, right? When people think about Tinkerless, they don't necessarily think that it's a tech company, but we are definitely tech enabled through our automation and through our operations. Every part of the business is tech enabled, and that's kind of allowed us to grow this fast in this short amount of time. So I think that even though from the front end, it doesn't look like it's a technology company, when you kind of like understand, a lot of these companies nowadays are very tech focused, and tech is kind of the differentiating factor of a successful company that can kind of grow and then surpass the existing players in the market. So that is a little bit about Tinkerlust. I'm sorry I couldn't share. But just visit my website, visit the website, and I think
yes.
you'll get to know. My husband is still next to me. He like does not want to give up.
I know, he's like visibly there. I love it. Working from home, like you get the tech, like the head of tech, like engineering behind you, so you're good. No, thank you so much. So just a reminder, like tinkerless.com, I actually have sold my stuff on there, so it's really, really cool.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that.
To have tried it. And yeah, you're talking about sustainable fashion, and now it's in fashion to
it is in fashion, all the big, yeah.
And also like what Pure.It's doing about being more conscious about your health. So it's really now, I think with the pandemic, everyone's more aware, self-aware, so you're situationally aware, from health to like what we have at home. I've been like KonMariing my whole house as well. So I'm sure everyone's experiencing that. So now I'm just going to dig a little deeper on your experiences, not much about what you guys have done or doing now, because I feel like everyone here kind of want to know what was the road to this kind of, being the CEO, COO part of your life. Really simple questions for to start with. I want to ask, what was your first internship ever? First internship ever. And I want to know, how did that go? How bad it was, how good it was, like really brief. Okay, Piotr, go first.
My first internship ever was at an advertising agency in Jakarta called McCann Erickson. And
so were you like in uni, or were you like in school still at the time?
I was in uni. I was in uni. So my first job ever was a soccer referee on the pitches of Jakarta youth soccer. But my first internship was at McCann Erickson in Jakarta, and it was if there's one thing that I highly recommend everybody to do is throughout your college career, do as many internships and work experiences as possible, and because that really is one of the only ways that you can get as close to real life work as possible. Yeah. Because sometimes in school you get projects, you work on campaigns and things like that, but it's not like the real thing. So for me, it was really cool because I got to work on a couple of brands. Coca-Cola, I worked on Cousins, and it kind of opened my eyes to the advertising field, which I was studying. So it was really enjoyable.
No, that's really cool. I mean, that's probably the dream. It's like my first internship, not really getting paid, but I'm handling Coca-Cola. Like that's usually a big deal, right? How about you, Samira?
So my first internship was actually at the World Bank. It was a dream internship. We were working with I think at that time it was the Millennial Development Goals. And I was working on the team to socialize that. So at that time there was, social media wasn't big. So I was working on like brochures and things like that. But I remember after the summer that I worked there for 6 weeks, and I really appreciated my time there because my undergrad was actually in economics, and my dream, I was like, I thought that I was going to get my PhD in economics and then work on poverty eradication. Like that was like what I wanted to do. But I realized then that I don't think I could have worked in, that sector because it was very slow. It was slower, and I liked that fast pace. So that's actually working there had made me realize that I didn't want that kind of field, and I wanted to go into more the business. And that's why, like, I think I ended up where I was in startups, because startups is like every day is so fast moving, and it's like instant, right? You work on something and you kind of see it right away. And I think that was actually the point where I realized where I wanted to go. Yeah, but I totally agree. You need to have so many internships so you kind of realize what you don't like,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's really a big eye opener, because you could probably like leave your school and go to university. You kind of know what you want to do. And then you kind of like just curveballs you a little bit and realize like, oh, maybe I'm better at other things than what I actually wanted to do originally. I think that's a really good understanding what internship is. I mean, with this pandemic, it's a bit hard to have a physical internship. Are you guys doing anything in your businesses right now, like kind of hiring people virtually, just like working from, virtually at internships? Are you guys doing that now?
Yeah, we're always hiring. For Tinkerlust, in terms of internships, we have an internship program. It starts in January and July every year, so a 6 months, 6 months. So we do kind of like a rotational program, because we understand that interns, they don't get paid that well, so we want to pay them in education and just experience.
How about you, Pierre? Are you guys doing anything, internships or kind of work experiences?
Yeah, and it's kind of the same thing. We're constantly looking for people to join us. Just recently, we had a data science intern join us, and he's before he had no idea, or he wasn't really as experienced in Tableau. We use Tableau quite often, and now he's a whiz. Even before taking he was like, well, my next semester course is about Tableau, but now I know, most of it already. So yeah, we're constantly looking on the marketing side, product, design, graphic design, in data. So we are open, can reach out to us.
Yeah. Maybe just a little bit of an explanation. What is Tableau? Maybe not everybody knows what it is on here.
Sorry. Tableau is a tool that allows you to visualize data. So our air quality monitors, they collect about 7 million data points a month across the entire network. So what we do is we connect it into the system, and we try to we build graphs, try to look for trends, and try to understand what that data is actually telling us. So that's how we use this data visualization tool.
Yeah, no, that's great. So if anybody is interested in here, don't forget to look them up, follow their Instagram as well, which I'm going to put it in the chat. So now that everyone can understand, okay, internship is a great way to start. So maybe Samira, just a little bit about how you're kind of academic. I know you went through, you studied economics, and finance was kind of your background. How did you, I know you shared a little bit of, how did you actually shift to this? I know Pierre accidentally got into tech, but how did you actually decide, what was the motivation for you to go into tech, apart from the speed and, the pace?
What was my motivation to get into tech, and how did, I think it was, if I could say that there was one moment, it was probably the movie, The Social Network. Have you guys watched it?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I remember at that time, both me and my husband, we were going to grad school at that time. And I was like, I think it would be cool to start a company together. You have the tech skills, I have the business skills. Why don't we do that? And actually, if I didn't think about the part that we were married, and that adds another variable. But I think it was that. It was seeing other people as well, experience life in tech, because I was in Silicon Valley, right? So that kind of conversation was an everyday thing, right? And my MBA program was focused actually on tech. So that was the first tech kind of exposure that I got. But I think just being around the conversation, it kind of sparked my curiosity. So I started flirting with the idea. And when I kind of jumped into it, I definitely was a newbie, looking back, I didn't know product management, UI, UX. I didn't even know those concepts. So I think that I was definitely naive to jump into tech, being that I had no background into it. But I think it was just sparked by my curiosity. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs are kind of motivated by their own personal curiosity and just I guess their motivation to learn, so I think that was kind of my first jump into it. Yeah.
And Peter, how did you end up in tech? We know where you were before NAFA, so.
So I was starting in high school. I was really keen on a career in marketing and advertising. So I started collecting print ads that I really liked because they were just I liked them aesthetically, and I was really I was really fascinated by how creativity, copywriting, ideas can be turned into into a campaign. And so I went to school for that. I went to school for I have a degree in marketing management and a degree in copywriting from the journalism school. And the first part of my career track was there. I worked at an agency called Leo Burnett in Chicago.
Wow.
Before that, I started at a smaller agency, went to Leo Burnett, transferred with Leo Burnett to Jakarta. Then I was asked to be the general manager of a different agency, and I was gunning to be a global agency leader. And then Gojek came around, and I'd known the company and known the founders, and I really liked the mission. And I thought, well, if this doesn't work out, I can always come back to advertising. So I gave it a shot, and joined Gojek as the chief marketing officer at the end of 2015. And spent almost 3 years there. Trying to turn Gojek into the biggest and most loved brand in Indonesia. And for me, that the key takeaway from that experience was the fact that, well, technology, if you structure it in the right way, technology can help solve almost any problem that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And my key yearning was actually to solve some type of an environmental problem. And I wasn't just thinking about air pollution. There was a couple of other things as well. I looked into electric vehicles, solar microgrids. I looked into water desalination, plastic waste to energy, and things like that. But air pollution just spoke so close, because all I had to do was open the window at my house, and I was personally being affected by it.
Yeah.
So with the fact that I did have that experience at Gojek, understanding how to build a tech product, what has to go into it, what are some of the strategies for growing not just a business but growing a team, and the type of mindset that's needed in order to work in technology. It was a pretty simple thing to make this kind of choice to start something myself, together with my work husband, if you will. I'm not. I didn't build a business with my wife, but I talked to my co-founder multiple times every single day. So it's that was kind of the journey. And if you had asked me 6 years ago, would I be in tech, I would be like, no, you're crazy. I'm going to be in advertising. And here I am, doing something completely different.
Yeah, no, I can sense from both of you that passion, again, curiosity, and that kind of need for creating social impact has driven you to shift your life and kind of your careers into the tech sector. And I think that's really, it's really great to have that. I mean, if any of you who are watching here today, I have that kind of passion and drive, take it from the two of them. They've kind of pushed through, doing what they needed to do to get to this stage. Speaking of getting to this stage, obviously you mentioned you come from very, very different backgrounds. Piotr, did you have to study like an additional skill in between the work that you were doing, going from this advertising and marketing into tech? In between, did you take extra courses? Did you take extra certifications for that?
No, and this is a great question, because one of the questions here is, what is the best skill that you can have to work at a tech company? And for me, the two best skills that you have to have is a never-ending curiosity and a voracious appetite for self-learning. Because if you wait for certifications and you wait for other stuff, then you don't really have that spark, and you don't really have that passion. And I'll give you an example. In order for me to become a, to a certain extent, an air quality expert, I had two choices. I could apply for a master's program in air pollution, and in 2 years I would be an expert, and maybe then I could start my business. Or I can literally open up the internet, find the top 15 books on air pollution, follow the top 50 experts in the world on air pollution, read all their papers, and find a mentor who is one of the top 10 people in terms of air quality in the world. Which those are the three things that I did, and was able to get on top of it. So one of the things that I think we underestimate overall, and I sometimes underestimate this as well, is almost every single piece of knowledge that exists in the world is available through our screen, because you have to know what you're looking for. You type it into Google, and it's all there. It's just located in different places. The most of my reading now is scientific research papers. So I've bookmarked Google Scholar, which I didn't even know existed. 2 years ago. So those are the things, like an endless curiosity and a voracious appetite for learning and for reading. I've never done more reading in my life than I've done, trying to build a business. Yeah,
I think that's great. I think people lack that, investment in time to read. Some people are like too busy to read, but I feel like that's a really good downtime to read and absorb your information and kind of give you inspiration. How about you, Samira, going from finance to become this tech, enabled business owner, did you feel there was like a skill that you lacked when you started this, and how did you end up filling that gap?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with Piotr, right? It's about having that self-motivation to kind of do your learning. But also, I remember when we were like a 6-person team, I was the one running Facebook ads and doing marketing. So I don't have a marketing background, but I actually am a marketing focused CEO at Tinkerlust. And I had to learn all of that by myself. I'm a very, very formulaic person, so I'm not very creative, right? So I had to learn all about like customer acquisition and the funnel and all of that, right, by myself. But I think it's very important for you to be able to know the different departments too. So I was also leading tech. So I was the resident first product manager, but I didn't know anything about wireframes and creating all of that. So I had to learn about that, but not just learn about it, but actually serve that role, so that when I did grow my team, I understood exactly what type of person I needed to hire, right? And I think it's also about respecting the discipline. Like if you don't know anything about, product management or UI UX, or what's the difference between front end and back end engineers and all of the different languages and how it serves the company, there's a level of respect that you won't get as a leader. And I think that that's very important, that you kind of, it also builds a certain type of empathy that is needed to grow a company, to understand and to lead these different departments that is not necessarily your forte. Because as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, you have to kind of be a generalist, but a very strong one. And it kind of builds your compassion as you kind of lead these, lead the team as you kind of grow the company. So I think it's about, yes, learning, but also kind of like doing it yourself, No,
I agree. I think I could agree with that, because I have no tech background whatsoever, and now I'm the director of the UK Indonesia Tech Hub. Yeah. So it's kind of like a very, very bizarre journey for myself as well. Like I mentioned, my background was like PR, public relations and media and culture studies, right? And then I had hospitality, and then now going into tech was kind of a self-taught thing. I read a lot, like Piotr was saying, and I did a lot of my research, and then I started interning in places where I thought that was relevant. So I hope you guys are all taking this in and kind of now kind of plotting your journey, your career journey, as well as Piotr and Samira have. Surely there's a lot of diversions, and the next question is about like, how did you handle those diversions, right? But before that, I think one of the biggest questions I've always wanted to ask to like tech entrepreneurs or just entrepreneurs and leaders is like, how did you, when you did your internship, your first job, how did you handle kind of like a negative feedback about your work? I know I'm jumping here, but I just feel like I have a continual question for that. But maybe Samira, you want to come in here and say maybe you had a really bad feedback about something you did at work.
Yeah.
And how did that shape you as a person now that you're a leader and then having to like give that kind of feedback to somebody else, right?
So I have kind of like an interesting, I guess, very different background than Piotr, where I've never worked in a big company. The biggest company that I've ever worked at is my own. So after college, I was still very confused about what I wanted to do. So I did one internship. It was more freelance before I did my MBA. And then right after that, I started my first company, right? So I think that the strongest feedback or from like a superior, or I guess not a superior, but like a boss, like, is my investors, right? If I don't meet certain goals or forecasts, that I wouldn't say that they're hard on me, but I think that as an entrepreneur, we're hard on ourselves the most. And I think dealing with our self-criticism is probably the most difficult thing, right? How we probably, when we don't see the company meet our forecasts or meet our certain projections, how that reflects poorly on us, or you know, potential investors that we were pitching to that didn't necessarily believe in the mission or the vision that we had. That's definitely sometimes even heartbreaking, right? As an entrepreneur.
Yeah, for sure. How about you, Kat?
I mean, the most important thing in my opinion is to have a growth mindset, right? And growth mindset really focuses on, you know, this constant improvement that you can have in whatever it is that you do, right? So you know, I think if you believe that everything that you do is perfect, there's a certain delusion behind that. You know, I've made that mistake early in my career as well, thinking that, you know, here you go, you know, this is the best project ever, and you know, it's really great. So you know, one of the things that two things that I think are important, especially when you're starting out, is a little bit of humility in you know, taking feedback and understanding that, you know, whoever's giving that feedback is just trying to make the work better. And also this openness to learn, because you know, this openness to learn has to do with things like especially things like patience. One of the things that I didn't have as well in a lot of my first early experiences was patience. It was kind of like, well, you know, I'm here. Why am I stapling these papers, right? But you learn the ropes by being there, and by you know, by being able to contribute. So the early days anywhere is always going to be tough. And you know, the fact of the matter is, with this growth mindset, you know, the more you improve and the better you perform, the more responsibilities you can take on, and you can very quickly grow, you know, from an internship to something bigger, right? Because these internships that we're doing, that Samira is doing, they're not 6-month things. They, you know, if you come in for 6 months, then you finish school, there's a if you did great during your internship, there's a very big possibility that, you know, Samira or I would be like, hey, you know, you're done with school, why don't you come join us full time, right? So yeah. These are almost, you know, it's kind of a two-way street, especially with these first opportunities.
Yeah, no, I believe it's also like opportunities is what you make of it, right? Sometimes you think A and then B happens. You never know, right? So speaking of like, you know, taking constructive feedback, and you guys are now owning your own businesses and being tech entrepreneurs. There's a lot of before we go into that, actually, you know, when you're hiring somebody, right? Maybe this is good for some of the questions about skills and also, interpersonal skills. What are your expectations as a leader of a business for the people that you are hiring? So what do you actually look in a person that you want to work with? I mean, scale is one thing, definitely, especially in tech. There are various skills that needs to be there, but maybe other things, other points that make a person that you want to hire. Piotr, you can go first.
I think for me, the important thing, especially in what we're doing, is that drive to learn. Because we actually make it a prerequisite. Within your first month at the company, you have to read 1 or 2 books, and it's on the OKRs. And if you don't read it, you don't pass probation. It's very, very simple. And the reason why we do that is simply because most people who are in our field have degrees, master's degrees in what we're working on, and in order to get to that level, you need to accelerate your learning. So somebody who's naturally curious and somebody who's naturally going through that learning process is something that is that's really important. The next thing that we find really important is this drive to figure things out.
Like initiative, right? Self-initiative.
Yeah, it's a little bit of self-initiative, but it circles around the fact that in a lot of cases we all don't know something, right, at the company. And if you have that ability to say, okay, cool, I don't know this today, but let me go use my intense curiosity and voracious learning and figure it out, and I'll tell you maybe tomorrow or in 2 days. Those are the types of things that at tech companies are very highly regarded, because in a lot of categories, just like Samira with Tinkerlust, when you're pioneering something, there's not a playbook that you can pass down and pass back and say, hey guys, here's the path, right? You're kind of creating that path yourself, and so those are the types of skills that are really important. I mean, sure, once you get into a certain department, like you can't be a software engineer without software engineering skills.
Yeah.
But in general, even within software engineering, within data, within marketing, within some of the other departments, those are the things that I think are the most important skills and the ones that I always look for.
Yeah. Great. Everybody here take note. And Samira, how about you? Some pointers.
I couldn't say it better myself. I think, we looked at 2 different aspects. And I think I have learned a lot in the beginning of Tinkerlust, where our turnover was so high. It was, and I think I partly blame myself because I was learning how to hire, and I was always hiring for what we need right now, but I never thought about, could they actually grow with the company and expand themselves,
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we got a lot of, when people left or we had to let them go because the company needed a different kind of person, and they just couldn't fill those shoes. So the company kind of outgrew them. And so now we are a little bit more structured when we kind of give interviews. We have like 2 case studies to kind of understand the way they think, and if they're like technically capable. No matter what the role, we actually give them a data case study, just so we understand if they're good with numbers, because I think in tech, actually a lot of the decision making is based on the numbers. So I feel like if you're gonna take a class or a course or anything, take a data science class. That's like one of the first things I did. So
data science, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, data science. And back then when I was in college, it was called statistics. And I never knew what the class was for, but damn, I should have like paid attention.
Actually, I took statistics. So
you did, yeah. So statistics, right? It's a great class, but now data science, I think, is business intelligence, right?
Yeah.
So no matter the whatever background, like our marketing, our HR, they do need to understand the numbers. That's one aspect, the technical, and usually that's covered before they meet me. And when they meet me, it's all about culture fit. It's all about, do I think this person will get along with the company? Because in a startup, the influence one person has in the dynamic and chemistry can be pivotal in the growth of the company itself.
Yeah.
So when I see like a Debbie Downer, as simple as that, not an optimistic, you got to be a little bit crazy, to be honest. If you want to, you know what I mean? Like you got to
energetic, right?
Energetic, and we have to shoot for the moon. Like, so if you give me, conservative targets, that's not the kind of person I want on the team. Like, yesterday, I was just telling someone, I was like, you got to be a little bit halu, halu, right?
Halu.
I'm thinking a little bit of hallucination because, so I think that's the kind of person, because the thing is, the company is not just me, it's the entire team, right? We're pushing together. And so we need people that want to have that drive and can really, because it will get super tiring for the leaders if we can't, if the all of the team can't grow with the company and then fulfill, as the team grows, we want those individual contributors to be leaders and have their own team. So we have to see that. And the thing about it, and I really recommend if you guys can intern, as was mentioned, because there is so much room for growth, So.
Yeah, an internship, but also, if you had mentioned earlier, mentorship. I think mentorship programs are very important. So if you or companies are having any mentorship program, I think that's also a great opportunity for everyone to kind of learn a little bit more, do your research. Honestly, I feel like I got my mentor from LinkedIn. I basically just shoot hey, this is what I'm into. I'm really interested. I'm really passionate about this. And I feel like you're the person I want to learn from. And you never know what they're going to say. It's either yes or no. You're not losing anything. There's no pride. There's no ego there. You want to learn. And usually leaders who are, inspirational leaders, they want to give back that kind of knowledge to people they want to mentor. One more question before we go into the Q&A is just a little bit, the tech sector, like maybe like the maritime sector is very male dominated worldwide, apparently. So, but I see a growing number of female tech entrepreneurs, and my job here at the UK Indonesia Tech Hub is also about, encouraging gender and inclusivity as a whole. And, Samira, how did you feel about when you started? I'm sure in Indonesia it's not as bad. I think I don't know how, maybe it's not as pressured being a woman in the tech industry, but maybe how do you see that when you started and how you see it now?
So I think as a woman in the tech industry, I think there's actually a lot of opportunities because there's a lot more awareness about empowering women, right, in this male-dominated industry. I think that the biggest challenge, though, was fundraising, because Tinkerlust is a woman-centric product, right? So when I was talking to investors who are, I would say 90% men, and the decision maker is a man, right? It was very hard to kind of convince them about the need for this product. So I think it's about communicating with them on certain levels that make sense, which I feel at the end of the day, the numbers can speak for themselves. So I think that, yes, I do definitely feel like women definitely have challenges, but then again, any entrepreneur, whether it's female or male, will have their own challenges. And it's about using that challenge as kind of a fuel to your, to your self-growth, I guess, and taking that as an opportunity. And I definitely take advantage of all the opportunities that are given to female entrepreneurs that probably male entrepreneurs are not given.
Great to know. Piotr, are you doing anything in the Nafas of your business to ensure gender equality?
I mean, when we hire, we're always trying to to make sure that we we're looking at all candidates, right? We're a little bit smaller, so it sometimes getting people to come on board a really early stage startup is difficult for a variety of reasons. But our engineering department, we have software engineers who are women, and we're always very open. right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little bit it's just a little bit difficult because of, you know, what is the availability on the market right now of people who want to join, and how well you can recruit at different stages of the company itself.
Yeah, great. All right, thank you so much, everybody who has written their questions on here, and we took a while to get there, but we're going to go straight into the questions now. I think Mr. Mira and Piotr have already seen a few. Because of time, I'm also going to ask questions that may be relevant to both of them as well. So just a question here. I think you mentioned earlier, Piotr, as well, a question for Samira and Piotr from Beatrix. What are the most important soft skill and tech skill for you to ensure sustainability and the development of your tech-based company? But if I could just rephrase that a little bit, perhaps, what kind of skills are you kind of looking for in a tech company, or hiring in terms of the sustainability to ensure sustainability and development of your tech-based company? Piotr, you want to go first?
I think I would combine curiosity with halu, right?
How about skills, like specific tech skills? Are you hiring more engineers or data analysts, or what kind of? So for every company, it's going to be a little bit different, right? Yeah. And for whatever your specific role is, it's important to be on top of what are the newest technologies within that space. Mm-hmm. To make sure that you are kind of capable of coming into a very fast-paced environment. So one of the interesting things about tech is the fact that the infrastructure and kind of the backbone of what tech runs on is constantly evolving. So you've got technologies that we use to implement things today that 4 years ago or 5 years ago didn't exist, and it's just incredibly important to be able to stay on top of that. Yeah. One thing I will also bring up, one thing that I completely agree with, and what Samira said before is, it's important for us as people who are hiring to know that to find team members who have that ability to evolve with the company. But it's also important for whoever's coming into the company to kind of take a look at okay, what could the trajectory here be, and am I prepared for this? Because there's very many situations that have happened before that the growth trajectory of the company just outstrips people's ability to keep up, right? Yeah, no, yeah, agree. Samira, I might add a question to this, actually. What do you think are also the most sought after kind of tech skills nowadays?
What are the most sought after tech skills? I think it's an understanding between product and business. So I think the business side needs to understand what we create for in products to satisfy our customers. But then on the tech side, then they need to understand what they're building and why their building is so important for our business side. So I think it's that appreciation on both ends. So if you're a business background, you need to understand how this product will affect the overall business, and vice versa. So it's sort of like the communication between both worlds that I find very important. And I think that if you lack that communication, these two departments will kind of work in silos, and then they don't even understand why they're doing what they're doing, which will actually demotivate them in the long run. Yeah.
So it becomes kind of a disconnection there.
Yeah, a disconnection.
Right? Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you, Beatrix. I hope that answers your question. Adinda Tiffany also asked, hello, awesome speakers, Samira and Piotr. Is everyone with any background suitable in the tech industry? And I think you mentioned already what kind of skills are really needed the most. So, Piotr, you want to go? Because obviously,
in individual departments, you do have to, kind of master your craft, right? Mm-hmm. So we have been obviously talking about the fact that there's a lot of self-learning that you can do, but in some cases that'll only get you so far. So I know, for example, from an engineering perspective, if you haven't done it yet and you're going through a career change, there's boot camp type programs that you can do. There's a few in Indonesia. There's a bunch in the region as well, where you would get to prepare in order to do something like that. But it really depends from that individual department, and it's important to have that that to a certain extent mastery in that category before coming in.
How about you, Samara?
For what kind of tech skills, or what kind of department?
Well, just your take, because the question was, is everyone with any background suitable for tech industry? I mean, both of you come from tech.
Honestly, in my opinion, I think anybody is suitable, but it really depends on the company itself, right? Perhaps if you're an animator, that would, or like an illustrator, a lot of tech companies need that, right? So what's the farthest thing from tech? I don't know, like a writer. Yeah, you could serve on the marketing department, so I think that any background, as long as you are actually interested in the company's purpose and the company's mission, I think that that's actually what needs to drive you to join that company. And if then you are actually interested, then they would want people like you, for sure. And then through your kind of motivation and your curiosity for that mission and the industry, you will learn about technology and how tech kind of serves the bigger picture, right?
Yeah, no, actually, like doing your research as well, and actually identify. You should do your research, because get asked in your interviews, it's like, why do you want to work here?
Yeah.
Sometimes people don't know what to say, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what makes you excited to work here? That's actually one of my interview questions. What makes you excited to work here?
Let's go into that. Let's say, Pia, like, what was the most bizarre answer somebody responded to your question about why do you want to work here? Maybe not NAFAS, maybe your previous work at Gojek, if you had to hire somebody, interview somebody.
Is it somebody that I hired, or somebody that I didn't hire?
Oh, it could be you hired or you didn't hire. Surprise us.
I asked them, what you know about the company, and they're like, well, it's just popular. That's why I want to be here. And it was just kind of like, okay.
Oh, wait, was this when you were still at Gojek then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
what an answer.
It was, that was definitely the end of the interview.
Okay. So what was the job position? Can we know?
It was in the marketing department. So
okay.
It was the shortest interview that I ever did. So it was 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, when you hear a question like that, there's no reason why you should spend any more time. The candidate is not prepared, and
yes,
your time, whatever level that you're at, your time is valuable. So it was unpreparedness in that case, and a little bit trying to be a little bit excess.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit excess for sure. Samir, how about you? Most bizarre kind of interview answer that you?
I don't think I get a lot of bizarre ones, because they kind of filter off before they chat with me. But
sure.
I think it's when they just think about the fun side of fashion. We get a lot of really fun people that want to join Tinkerlust, because they see the glitz and glamour, right? Which is literally less than 1% of what we are. We do go to fashion shows and we meet with influencers, but it's actually a lot of it's just such a small amount of, that's like the marketing part, right? That's the but if they think that that's why they're joining Tinkerlust, I discourage them. I tell them, I tell them, I'm like, like things that I'll ask them, like, will you have a problem with me calling you on a Saturday without overtime? Like that's kind of like, because I think that we do have to be honest, because it's not fair if we kind of try to attract them to the glitz and glamour when that's actually not the case of the job.
Yeah, no, I understand. I think that's why we're having this talk, because we wanted to, explore and have everyone who might be really interested in tech enthusiasts want to go and maybe shift their career into the tech sector, but not actually knowing that it is a lot of work. It is kind of fast paced and it's ever changing, ever growing, right? All right, next question. Before we close up, I think this is Kieran. For both of you, what kind of portion of your energy goes to leading, educating your marketplace as opposed to serving what the customer thinks they want? Do you ever think your customers are lagging behind you in their outlook? Okay. Samira, do you want to go?
Sure. So in the beginning, I think the first few years, we invested a lot in education. And we also did that as an experiment to see how the market reacted to our types of messaging. In the beginning, I remember we had such a hard time creating UGC, like user-generated content, when people shopped on Tinkerless. They didn't want to say they shopped pre-loved, right? So we had to educate them in a way that was different than saying, oh, it's secondhand, it's thrifting. We were saying it's the smart way to shop, right? It's going to be better on your financial, your finances. So it's about understanding what kind of education will respond best with your market. And that definitely evolves and changes over time too. Now I can be we can have a campaign about secondhand because it's much more welcomed in the market, right? And I would say now we still invest in education, but not so much as in the beginning years. And I think when I say education, I think it means more marketing that we cannot have a direct return. It's like a long-term investment. While now we concentrate more on like the ROI that actually we can kind of like see, like direct sales and things like that. Yeah. So I think, and the second part of the question is like, how do we kind of cater to what our customer wants, or if they're lagging behind us? We always follow the customer. So sometimes we definitely want to create solutions that are a little bit ahead of them, like for example, WhatsApp shopping. WhatsApp shopping for the first 3 to 4 years, we didn't not have. We always told them to shop on the website. But in Indonesia, WhatsApp shopping is still a huge place where transactions are made. So we actually kind of like took a step back, even though it was definitely against our nature, where e-commerce, we want to be all about automation, right? But we listened to our customer and that's what they were comfortable with. So they are lagging behind, but then we kind of have to go where the market is.
That's great. How about you, Piotr? I mean, you're probably still trying to educate the market as well with Nafas going forward. Do you want to answer this question?
I'll start with the second part of the question because innovation is based on actually not serving the customer what they think they want. It's about building completely new things in completely new categories. So I think that's an important thing to consider, because if you take a look at Apple's trajectory, before the iPod was created, people wanted a CD that had more space, right? So that's just something to consider. That when building a new product and building a technology product. Now, if you're in a completely new category, education is always going to be a really big thing. And, sometimes you get things that happen that accelerate education. So, what COVID did, for example, was it accelerated e-commerce globally, right? Simply because conditions changed. So I don't think it's a perfect balance, it's just part of the process. Trying to make sure that you're doing enough of both.
Yeah, it's evolving as you go along. Well, thank you all so much for your questions. I know there are a few questions here directed to Piotr, but I think those questions actually can be found, the answers can be found in the link that Piotr shared as well. regarding NAFAS. And so I just want to thank you both again, Samira, co-founder and CEO of Tinkerless, and as well as co-founder of Style Woman. And of course, Piotr here is also CEO and co-founder of NAFAS app. And of course, I'd like to thank British School Jakarta for this collaboration of Tech Talk, which we hope to continue going forward. And if any of you have any kind of feedback or you have any further questions, don't forget to follow us at UK Indonesia Tech Hub and as well as British School Jakarta. And I think Tinkerless has also got their Instagram on there, and Samira's, and Piotr, you can just type his name, basically pops up, right, on Instagram. And once again, thank you all so much. If you guys have any feedback or kind of want to talk about a different topic in our next Tech Talk session, do drop us a line, because we would love to cover areas that you guys are interested in, kind of asking more daring questions to our panelists as well. And of course, we'd love to hear from all of you on how we could do this better next time. So once again, thank you all so much. But before that, I'd like to take a picture of all of us in here, because I'm just going to quickly screenshot. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to try and screenshot everybody. I know everyone here has their camera off, so I'm just not going to try and ask everyone to turn their cameras on. I see my colleague, Dennis. I see Dennis here, who is in UK Tech Hub in London, and we see everybody else. If you guys want to just quickly turn on your camera, I would love to take a picture of all of us for attending this first Tech Talk session, only if you consent to taking this photo with us. Yes. I love seeing everyone's faces on a Friday afternoon. I promise you won't have any Zoom sessions with us for the rest of the day, but I'm sure Piotr and Samira will have a few more. But let's make this quick. Okay, great. So if I got everyone that I know that is okay with taking the photo, I'm just going to quickly take a picture. 1, 2, 3, everyone smile. Perfect. Thank you all so much for being here. Let's do kind of a virtual wave. And
thank you so much, Oki, for having us.
Yes, and I hope you guys are all staying healthy. Keep that double masks on, and of course, keep your mental health going strong as well. Take care, and I hope to see you soon in the next Tech Talk. Bye.
Bye.